Good evening and welcome to the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen of the City of New York and to the 7th season of the Artisan Lecture Series. My name is Victoria Dangle and I'm the Executive Director of the General Society. This program is supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council and the Friends of the Artisan Lecture Series. And for those of you not familiar with the organization, we were founded in 1785 by the skilled craftsmen of New York City, artisans who represented 22 different trades, including carpenters, blacksmiths, saddlers, tailors, and silversmiths, among others. Today, our 232-year-old organization continues to serve the people of the City of New York through its educational and cultural programs, including our Tuition-Free Mechanics Institute, our Lock Museum, the John M. Mossman Lock Collection, which is upstairs, and we invite you to go up after the presentation to peruse 370 locks and keys. And if you're not able to get up there, as I always tell everyone, every lock is described in a book called The Lore of the Lock, which you can purchase after if you don't make it up to the lock collection. And our other programs are the General Society Library, which you're in tonight, our nearly two-century-old lecture series, of which the Artisan series is a part. And you'll find information on your seats about the General Society. So tonight, we gather once again to pay tribute to the art of craftsmanship. The Artisan Lecture Series has committed itself to giving voice to internationally known artisans who will talk about the intricacies of their specialized crafts. The mission of the Artisan Lecture Series is to promote the work and art of skilled craftsmen to assist in ensuring that their unique knowledge is understood and carried forth for generations to come. It is a particular pleasure tonight, for so many reasons, to introduce Jean Wiart, acclaimed master artisan of fine ornamental metal worker of Les Metalliers Champenois, who will discuss his award-winning work and creative process tonight. Jean Wiart was the original curator of the Artisan Lecture Series when it began in 2010, and now he co-curates this series with Rhett Butler, owner and founder of E.R. Butler, who I'm very happy to say is with us this evening. From 1975 to 1978, Mr. Wiart served as an apprentice in his family's metal shop in France. Then he worked at Les Metalliers Champenois in France. There, his major historic restoration projects included the balcony rails at Versailles. In 1986, Mr. Wiart established Les Metalliers Champenois in New Jersey. Mr. Wiart is the recipient of numerous United States and French honors and medals, including the Knight in the French Order of the Legion of Honor. Some of the historic restoration projects where Mr. Wiart's exquisite craftsmanship can be seen in New York City include the Statue of Liberty's Torch and Flame, the General Sherman statue in Central Park, the Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church spire, the City Hall's Statue of Justice, the bronze entrance doors of the New York Public Library, and the University Club balconies. One of Mr. Wiart's recent commissions is the creation of the Torch of Peace, currently used in ceremonies commemorating World War I in northern France. And you'll see a short film on that project, which illustrates the project. It is now my honor and great pleasure to introduce Jean Wiart.
Thank you, Victoria. I think I need to do an introduction statement before we start the show. I didn't realize how challenging it would be to reflect on one's life and making it understandable to others. Indeed, I could not avoid opening my private life when exposing my professional life, because as I see it, an artisan is nothing else than a man of a trade, and this trade takes him entirely. These lectures forced me to connect the dots, as Steve Jobs said, brilliantly in his address in 2005 in Stanford. I read his statements many times, and I thought it would have been easier to rationalize what I mean by transmission, tradition, and trade, but in fact it proved to be so complex that you may experience some sort of confusion in this lecture, not mentioning the incorrigible French accent of mine. All this to say, do ask questions at the end of this lecture. My father, Prosper, and his brother Clement worked at this place together for over 50 years. My father was born in 1903. He made his apprenticeship at a nearby place of his home. His mentor's name was Eugene Farino. And you will see, and I may forget to mention it in the slideshow, that the anvil that is in the center of the forge is from Eugene Farino. So it comes a long way. My father, like his father, and so on until the early 19th century, were trained as mechanic blacksmiths. But he quickly diverted to artistic metalwork for the reason that Cambrai was in full reconstruction phase from the ravages of the First World War. And many gates, railings, tail railings, canopies, winter gardens were in great demand. Indeed, there was 22 metal shops in Cambrai in the 1920s. I joined the shop in late 74, 75, full-time, because full-time, when you are a son of an artisan, you work during vacation, in summer times and so on, doing small stuff, but important. And I went through a very old-fashioned apprenticeship. I realized that years and years later that I was taught by my father as he was knowing the trade in his younger years, so before the Second World War. So many ways of taking jobs, of looking at projects were old-fashioned, you know, and it has been extremely useful for my career in this country, truly. My father is on the left-hand side. This is the shop as I knew it. I never realized back then that it was old or dilapidated. I mean, didn't care that much back then. This machine was bought by him, and it was his jewel in July 1937. New, so it was great. And this was bought by him, used at the American stocks in the 1920s. I mean, the American Army left a lot of tools that he... My family was a strong and united family. And my two brothers here, he made an apprenticeship with my father and my sister, my wife and so on. And indeed, we had 50 years difference. This is a business card of my father. In this modest shop, we did very nice projects, very modest, but very nice projects together. Here we see a balcony rail of a mansion in Cambrai. There is mansions in Cambrai. Dated early 18th century in the style used to be popular in the 18th century in Belgium. That was not existing back then, but it was Flanders. And we restored it and reinstalled it together. This was a great souvenir. Truly, and we used very primitive hoisting machinery, as you can see. Truly, I didn't know by these years, in the mid-late 70s, that without me knowing it, I was being loaded with all of the basic knowledge of the trade, its tricks, those of the old days, and as importantly, the way of living a trade. It's a sort of a mindset. Here is the balcony once installed. Then, big change. I discovered at a trade show in Paris about the companions of duty. And after following a 2-week class in the technique of repousser, I left the family shop to join in July 1978 a newly opened workshop, Les Metalliers Champenois. The very same one, not only existing today both in France and in New Jersey, but by all means flourishing today like never before. The decision to leave the family shop, I mean, it was a comfortable place, was indeed a good decision. I didn't know it back then. I just took the decision, and this is the other dot, you know, of the dot theory of Steve Jobs. And Les Metalliers Champenois, soon enough, was the awardee of a major historic metal restoration project in France, the 18th century iron gates of the Place Stanislas of Nancy. You see a picture of it there. And this is a bustling shops where I did work on the gates for about 5 years, doing repoussé ornaments, thousands of hours. And again, this is the founder of Les Metalliers Champenois in France, Jean Bourlet, overlooking the removal of these 200 and so years old gates in more likely 1979 or 80. Again, without knowing it, this lengthy and difficult project made me become familiar with the 2 centuries old techniques of my trades. An invisible and silent relay is being transferred to you from the works, and indeed from those who did the work as well. I mean, they are, of course, dead, but through the work, they are living for those who work on restoring their works. And like a seed, received in you to grow and prosper. I told you about confusion, so... This major restoration project, indeed, in France, and I think in the world, let's be wide, in the world, it was the largest restoration project involving the techniques that saw the fabrication of the Statue of Liberty, repoussé. So we dare to consider that we were able to build on this project. I mean, we were a very small company in Reims. And Bourlet, the owner, dared to come and build on the project. We were awarded the fabrication of the new torch and flame. And here you see a team of brave and daring young French. There was Claude, Pascal, Jean-Michel, Philippe, Eric, Philippe, Frank, Jackie, myself, and Serge. We were not having any concern, I guess. I mean, we didn't know what we were going into, you know. And we were very, very young. I mean, a year later, the same team was joyfully waving atop Miss Liberty as they knew that their duty was accomplished. It was, like we say in the army, mission accomplished. We fabricated an exact replica of the torch and flame. Exact replica, meaning all the joints are the same manners made in the workshop of Gagé Gauthier back in 1870s, at the same geographical location in space. I mean, we are talking a replica. And the flame was a creation of, the flame was a creation of these architects and John, this is Thierry Despont and John Robbins, that they remade the original flame of Auguste Bartholdi, built by this fantastic artisan, Fabrice Gohard. It was hosted there in late November 1985, and hard to prevent a Frenchman to do crazy things, you know. Here I am with my wife, Monique, early December 1985, passing from the torch to the scaffolding. Again, like for the Stanislas project, this restoration fabrication project immersed us into a continuum between the original team of artisans of Paris 1870s and the late 20th century craftsmen. How's that? I await your question. The Place Stanislas project and the Statue of Liberty one made me understand strongly that a craftsman is a part of a chain of past, present, and future craftsmen. Hence my desire in 1978 to humbly apply joining the Fraternal Society of Companions of Duty. We'll follow some pictures of the fabrication, design and fabrication of my, what we call masterpiece. Never forget that I said humbly before, because really a masterpiece may be something even much more than that. So it took about 750 hours of your free time to do this piece, and it's all made out of thin sheets of iron, and using the technique of repousser, the one that I really do know and master. There is a lot of symbolism in this project. We will not talk about it now. Drawings, many drawings, mock-ups of flame, and finally achieved. Do not miss this point. The accomplishment of the masterpiece, of your masterpiece, that will enroll you as a member of the Fraternal Society of Companions of Duty is as much a technical challenge as it is a spiritual one. Those who have life experience, as you have, you do know that what we do in return, do yourself. You know what I mean? What we do as a craftsman is a quite accurate statement of who we are. Here is a pictures of companions metal workers back in 1991. I think I am here, and okay. We'll follow photographs, a kind of a fireworks of projects, not to impress anyone, but you understand the luck we have had to be in this great country, to rediscover the trade of our ancestors through extremely challenging projects. You cannot believe how difficult it is. And through that, we have been able to revitalize the trade of fine blacksmithing, to establish a kind of a program for apprenticeship that has been recognized by the state of New Jersey, and to make it more alive in France as well. Fabrice Gohard is doing the final gilding touch on the civic fame statue that sits atop the Manhattan Municipal Building. This is a 25 feet tall statue that sits at 500 feet high. In terms of chain, I thought important to leave in French a message inside the skull of this sculpture so that the next generation of metal workers going there will have a kind of a signal, some kind of a message. It's in French and Latin, you know, why not? The Latin words mean that we will go high through the arts. And it was hoisted by helicopter to this needle here, just there. And it went very well. And here is the lady sitting on top of the building. The team of artisans with apprentices is here pictured, and I'm sure some members in the assembly will recognize some of these young faces. Okay. And among one of them is doing a splendid career in France, and like I would say everyone, anyway, in France and in America. Another dear project in restoration is a civic statue of justice on top of City Hall. I wanted all of these projects in restorations so that LMC, this fine team of craftsmen, will devote time to maintain the historic heritage of this country. So it's not only the private, you will see private projects, fantastic, and rewarding financially and culturally, but this was some sort of a duty back to this country. And the hoopla of the celebration of the statue newly restored, Old Westbury Gardens, that was the Phipps Mansion. This gate was built in the early 1700 in England by Robert Bakewell, a famous blacksmith who has been the follower of Jean Tijoux. And again, we have been lucky to walk in the footsteps of those who built these gates, because when we removed it, cleaned it, we found stamps from the iron manufacturer and R&B, Robert Bakewell stamps, so that he made these stamps for us to look at them. And that is why we do stamps all works that we have done and we will do, as you will see on the mock-up on the table next to the bar. Splendid. This restoration will need a full, I forgot to put the timer here. South Alley in the same property. Again, a story in itself. It was built in London in the 1930s by Starkey Gardner, the most famous English blacksmith before the Second World War. We got his drawings, and I realized that indeed Bakewell, like others, were becoming, Starkey Gardner and Bakewell becoming very good friends of the craftsmen of LMC. You know, Miramar, Bellevue Avenue, it's in Newport, Rhode Island. The owner, this is a very special project. The owner is a member of the GSMT, became a member later on, and we became fairly close friend. And this was designed by Horace Trumbauer, and just before the First World War, you know, from his client, Mr. Widener, died in the Titanic. So, but his wife completed the project, and these gates are interesting for tonight because they are modeled after the gates of the Château de Versailles, not less. You know, so it was a splendor in this aristocratic city of America. Let's now look fairly quickly on many private projects that we have done. Not all of them. And this one before was in New York City. This one is in Africa, Nigeria, on an island in the delta of the Niger River. This one in Massachusetts. I could throw names, you know, of architects that we have worked with, many of them. I don't want to miss one, but the Ferguson, Chamamian, and so on, and Craig Penoyer, and Theo Prudon, and many architects. That, and I'm sure I will forget many. The residence of the world's largest collectors of Auguste Rodin sculpture. Tiens, je profite. Oh, this one is on 44th floor in a high-rise building in New York City. This is in Bel Air. The clients are these collectors, and their names are in many museums for their gift of Rodin sculptures. This is their apartment in New York. We did the stair railings. We didn't do the sculpture, but and a splendid work that also learned us a lot of historical accuracy. This was a project designed by Peter Penoyer. And it is in the federal style, so pineapple, eagles, and garland, all in bronze, a very challenging project that looks so easy and flowing nice. This is in the Hudson Valley work. A kind of a glimpse to a hello, I would say, to Edgar Brandt. This is in the Hamptons for the founders of Nine West shoes. Thierry Despont was a great designer that we worked with as well, and we did the bust-ups for Bill and the bust-up for Melinda Gates, as well as the pendant that is above, nom de Dieu, that is above the, in the private library of Mr. and Mrs. Gates, above the codex of Leonardo da Vinci that he bought. A splendid, small, private project, beautiful, of Michael Simon that we did at the Carlisle. And in the past apartment of Jackie Onassis is bronze door. Very serene stair railings in Washington, D.C. Serene because the design came from a convent in France. So it's beautiful, severe, but serene. The first project of titanium, forged titanium, which is a new material, as aluminum was in the 20s, titanium is a material of today, you know, for high-end projects. Why titanium? Well, because it's new and expensive. Let's put it this way. It has many other qualities, but I love his modernity. And it is really a pure material. Stainless steel is an alloy, bronze is an alloy, but titanium is pure. Fantastic. We could picture ourselves into a yacht. You know, it's beautiful. Our Mother of Africa in Washington, D.C., the two gates we made. And I thought about the tree, the baobab tree. You know, this is beautiful work. Oh, let's stop on this because it's part of this lecture. Transmission. We have welcomed at the shop many times school children because I was always convinced that it is very important that young boys and girls be acquainted with the trades as early as possible, as I was in the shop of my father's during vacations. When I was coming back from school in my city of Cambrai, I was passing by in front of wood shops and after another type of shops. I mean, this was usual. It has disappeared from cities. So to be given the opportunity to have the shop visited by school children was always very important for me and my fellow workers, always. Splendid project in Long Island, yes. A private library stairwell in New York City, a fantastic project, 2-ton marble, the titanium stairwell of Jerry Seinfeld in his residence in New York City. A beautiful entrance gate on 79th Street. This is one of the rare projects where people can see from outside, besides restoration. The home of a patron of the arts in New York. We did the stair railings and many more projects. This project is a beauty as well. The mock-up of the full stair railing is exhibited behind you, and you will see it was done in 2002, if I'm not wrong, and it has been a fantastic project. This project, we have been challenged to design this segment so that it looked the great main stair entrance, as it was not. But it looks like it, and there was a trick of this double volute here that make it grand. So in this trade, the challenge is to combine technical knowledge with taste. And this doesn't come from, it comes from a long tradition. In Long Island, the mention of a famous business couple of New York City, the interior bronze door with splendid details and stair railings. This is in Virginia, the entrance door of a beautiful new mansion there. And at the Carlisle again, for a private apartment, you will see details of the newel post and so on, blah, blah, blah. And here we are in a very special property on Piping Rock Club, on Long Island. The original architect was Harry Lindbergh, and we have been challenged to do a fine metalwork in the style of the Roman Ironworks company that did the original works in this home a long time ago, in early part of the 19th century. So this was a very challenging work, and it was a work of one of our great artisans of the shop, William, did that. Entrance gates in Santa Barbara, California, for Ty Warner. In Atlanta, beautiful Parisian canopy with the entrance door. And another project with Michael Simon in Minnesota. Oh, what an elegant setting. Well, team. In the US and in France, tradition in our trade was truly revived by these incredible US clients, and all members of our shop has felt that we have been admitted, better said, entering into, between quotes, the field of honor of our illustrious predecessor, the Tijou, Yelling, Brandt, Keys, Prouvé, Beckwell, and many, many more remarkable blacksmiths. That's my deep feeling. This was in France with the American, French, and European flags. As to come to a close of outstanding projects, I invite you to follow the path of the drafting of our most recent extraordinary works. Here comes now the project of the full maturity. All ornaments of these large stair railings have been designed in my father's shop in Cambrai. This was back in 2015 or so. 2014, 2015. And it took all of the life experience to draw ornaments at the right size, knowing it that you draw it flat, that it will be in volume. And what I mean is this extravaganza. They have been drawn several times, of course, to achieve the exact size. And samples were done and cut out, fabricated, all of that just to do a mock-up. That's it. And this mock-up was displayed and exhibited for the clients' and designers' approval, not only for the tone of the gold, stuff like that, which was also the case, but for the exact size of everything that goes into it. This is a kind of project, like all of the projects we have done, that you cannot redo them after, you know? And then was the extreme labor, manual labor of fabricating the 1,050 ornaments of this railing by hand. It was not cast. And William, myself, we spent as a team 5 months working at the bench and competing. That's a role between craftsmen, and competing to quality and expeditiousness, in the work. I mean, you cannot go slow. We were also, we had clocks. And this is pictures of samplings of repoussé works we did for this project. You can see the extreme delicacy of the work. As for myself, we always love to talk about ourselves, As for myself, I was devoted to the ornaments of the newel post. They were curved, quite difficult, but this is not the point. They're always difficult. And this is the 2 newel posts totally completed in repoussé, and so that it has better sense for you. This is it, gilt in the client's home. I will now let you enjoy a few pictures in this client's very private home. Maybe I will receive a letter tomorrow. But this to give you a sense of the level of refinement and elegance clients are now expecting from a company that has piled more than 30 years of experience in very high-end works. And in this achieved project, there is many places where decision has to be made to be exactly good. But I did not finish my homework. It has been years in the early 2000s that I was caught by the call of what, mimicking Jack London, the call of the legacy. And I felt that I could not leave until I am too old the workshop of my ancestors, left alone as it has been since the passing of my father 22, 25 years before. So the shop was abandoned and dilapidated. And these pictures will show you how dilapidated it was. You know, you have fern growing there, nothing. I love ferns, and nothing to, not the place for a fern. And this was Eugene Farino anvil. So my wife and I felt that we need to go back there and make it revive. The condition was terrible. Everywhere we see it, it's like a winter garden here. Dust was my least concern, to be honest, and spiders. Rust and humidity was terrible, and it damaged everything. So we decided to invest there and revive the workshop, to redo the full roof, and skylights are rebuilt exactly the same as they were, because I didn't want any break-proof glass, but the exact same stained glass from before, so that I could see. I mean, anyone but me will be working there anyway. So, and here is the shop cleaned and protected from the elements. That allowed me, this is the forge section, loyalty to legacy, ladies and gentlemen, loyalty to legacy. And this picture was taken in early March of this year. There is some work being done when I'm there, because I devote a lot of my time to the passing of the company here in the US. And I'm so pleased that there is a full row of colleagues from LMC New Jersey there. Great. You have understood now that the why of the question, why I did it, is clear to you. I mean, I did it. Why? The wrong question will be to ask me is to who. I have absolutely no clue, but this is not the point. You have to do what you have to do, and if you have to do it because you know for who you will do it, I would love to be faced that, but it's never the case. So I was able to save from destructions about 30 to 40 tools made by my ancestors, stamped with a name, and one of the oldest tools goes back to the date of 1816. There is sometimes several dates on the same tools, and this is another story. You will ask questions if you wish. Now, for who? I don't know. Maybe for Paul, my grandson. I have 3 grandsons, you know. And I put Paul a year ago on this anvil so that he got the fluid, I don't know, of blacksmithing envy, and he's wondering, he has a strange face. And this may be one of those who may take the lead after we are gone. This would not have been possible without, of course, my wife. Absolutely, for sure. I don't say that to please her. She's not here tonight. but that's those who knows me and my passion for works and will trust me. I would not have done what I have done without her, and here we are. And we accomplished a great family with my 4 daughters. This was at Christmas time and so on. Fine, enough on me. These pictures, taken in late June 2014, will drive you to the movie of a piece that was my second masterpiece that I did. I was alone for that. And that's why I was rearing the attributes of the companions of duty, because I did it for free on my free time. So that we had a torch in Cambrai to commemorate this incredible, terrible First World War that took so much of artisans and more than that. So if you can have this video, it will be a 12 minutes video, and after the question answers time. In the early days of the 20th century, Cambrai was a prosperous city located in the northern part of France, enjoying a renewed vitality following the dismantling of its old ramparts and fortifications. Cambrai is occupied In the early days of the 20th century, Cambrai was a prosperous city located in the northern part of France, enjoying a renewed vitality following the dismantling of its old ramparts and fortifications. This now modern city is bustling with industries, shops, and craft trades. A trolley system, the latest trend in modern transportation, is even installed and running. Cambrai is occupied by the German troops early at the outset of the Great War in August 1914. By October 1918, the enemy retreated after sacking and burning all buildings days before the liberation of the city by the Canadian troops. 100 years later, Cambrai, fully rebuilt in the early 1930s, is committed to commemorating these 4 dark years. Let's see how the art of metalsmithing and repoussé took their part in this celebration.
Quelle initiative pouvait permettre de rendre hommage à tous les soldats morts pour la France au cours de la Grande Guerre 14-18 ? Étienne Stock, sous-préfet de Cambrai, évoqua l'idée de faire confectionner un flambeau similaire à celui des Jeux Olympiques. Il fallait que ce projet permette de citer, au cours de ces 4 années de commémoration, tous les soldats dont les noms sont gravés sur les monuments aux morts des 116 communes du Cambrai. Il me fallait d'abord prendre contact avec Jean Wiart, compagnon du devoir du Tour de France, chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, qui avait œuvré à la restauration de la Statue de la Liberté à New York. Il me restait maintenant à trouver la jeunesse qui inspirerait les lignes du flambeau. L'École supérieure d'art de Cambrai était une évidence. Et David Braillon donna vite son accord pour que 8 de ses élèves planchent sur le sujet. Un vote de l'ensemble dégagea celle de Maria. Son idée, s'enfiler de métal pour rappeler le centenaire, relié par un nœud qui cacherait un réservoir de carburant pour qu'une flamme puisse jaillir durant plusieurs heures.
Once in the workshop, we remodeled the first mock-up in order to incorporate an off-the-shelf, ready-to-use torch. La maroquinière va s'occuper de ça. We then finalized all essential parameters, the overall height, knot design, and handle of the torch. Comme ça.
Bah, ça fait, oui, ça fait un peu, oui.
In order to fully apprehend the knot design, Maria used a real hemp rope that she soaked into liquid plaster.
Comme ça, c'était fait.
Voilà, bon, ben voilà.
At this stage, it was necessary to create a model of the torch. A steel guide plate was cut to the contour of the design and set onto a rod. Plaster, reinforced with a metal mesh, is then poured and shaped with this tool until a nice and smooth contour of the model is achieved. Here is the torch. Its size and shape are now clearly evident. What a beautiful work of art it promises to be. The design of the knot can now be penciled onto the plaster model, and Maria makes sure that it looks perfect from all angles. A colored rendering, also completed by Maria, provides a realistic view of the intended work. My father and grandfather kept quite a number of shells from that war, mostly German and a few British ones as well. The idea was to craft the nose form from one of these shells. A German one is selected because of its mechanical properties and also because of the greater meaning it would give to the commemorative torch. A set of 7 specific tools needs to be made so that the repoussé work is done correctly. The shell, filled with lead, is hammered so as to create the contour of the rope. Once this is done, the torus is stenciled onto the rope. It soon becomes apparent that the rope needs a more pronounced shape, so we hammer the inside of the shell to give the knot its volume. A block lead secured onto the bench vise will facilitate the shaping of the rope from inside. It should be noted that not all the lead material was removed, allowing to keep a vibration-free shell, but a suspender is needed to handle the shell onto the lead block. This phase also allows me to enlarge the top portion of the shell, required due to the conical shape of the overall torch. The diameter of the top of the knot is 3 inches, while the bottom diameter narrows down to 3/8. Once this shaping is achieved, lead is poured again into the shell, and once set on a sandbag, the rope contour and the torus of the rope are finally detailed using a hand repoussé tool. This is an extremely delicate phase of the project, as no mistakes are permitted. Faulty repoussé marks at this stage are impossible to erase. I did this tool this morning. Finally, lead is molded out and the knot may be cut, cleaned and preset onto the bronze handle. This handle, made in solid material, was machined by a friend and seasoned mechanic, Patrick Gélin. The bottom detail in the shape of a shell head works like a bolt, allowing for the leather covering to be set on the handle. This leather was made to look like the same used on military equipment at that time, grained black leather. This cartridge pouch was provided to the master craftswoman, Marie-Valentine Bourdelle, along with the handle so that a close match could be obtained. It did not take long for Marie-Valentine to superbly craft this leather cover. One major component of this torch is a cup-like support of the 100 rods that also incorporates the ready-made torch device. A lathe spinning artisan modeled the contour of this cup, now ready to be hammered to the desired shape. A custom-made anvil needs to be created to finally hammer this out. The making of this anvil is no small task. A leg is welded to the anvil so that it can be secured into the vise. A hole is drilled and threaded so as to secure the center of the cup, allowing for a precise rotisserie-like rotation during the hammering process. A hole is drilled and the cup is set onto the anvil, and here goes the hammering. My mechanic friend, Patrick, crafted the upper and lower rings. A distinctive characteristic of the upper ring is that each one of the 100 indentations is in the shape of an omega sign. The upper ring is secured onto the cup by the means of 6 screws neatly riveted. Then, the lower ring is set and aligned with the upper ring. The cup, fully equipped, is now assembled with the handle and knot. The next and final phase is the 100 needle-like rods that are shaped onto a jig so as to all be identical and closely fit onto the cup. Each needle is about 1/8 of an inch in diameter at the top and whistles down to 1/16 of an inch at the bottom. A small end point allows it to fit into the lower ring. Before the setting of the 100 needles, the cup is given a dark brown patina finish so as to create a perfect backdrop for the satin finish rod. Once all rods are installed, Maria provides a pattern of the top part of these rods, which are designed to be of unequal height. Finally, the last rod is ready to be set in, and the final assembly of the torch is done. A live test is eventually performed. Such a refined object could not go out into the world without a fitting case. A local wood craftsman created a transportation box that would house not only the torch itself, but the spare fuel bottle, replacement wick, and snuffer as well. The torch, baptized Flambeau de la Paix or Flame of Peace, was consecrated on June 29, 2014 at the Cathedral of Cambrai before setting off for a 4-year tour of duty throughout all the villages of the Cambrésis.
Questions?
Hello. Before we take questions, please, we are recording this, so wait until the microphone comes to you.
How long did it take to make the whole torch?
I think the first contact was in September of 2013, and the design was finalized in February, late February, so March, April, May. About, I would say, in and out 3 months. Not full time, to be honest, but about 3 months' time. After drawings is done and everything's done, of course. Okay.
Obviously, you know, much of your craft has, you know, with your hands and with the artistry. But you, as you explained, there was a lot of planning and drawing. Have you guys adopted technology? Is that the good guy or the bad guy?
This is a question for the LMC part of Jean Wiart. Okay. Yes. Drawings are now in many cases, I mean, wait. All in creativity or inventiveness is sketched by hands, always. And I do that with François Lecomte. And we do that because, and we have photos of what the clients want and so on. But we do sketches, and clients love it. That after, for the production phase, we go through the CAD drawings, I mean computer-assisted drawings. Yes. It's not because it's fashionable, it's because it's so efficient with other subcontractors, like mechanics or whoever we work with. We are not yet, I mean, sometimes we have used 3D or printing also, not often, as yet. It will come. This is not only a trend, but a big change in today's world of artisanship. The printer in 3 dimension, you know? 3 dimension or 4 dimension? 3 dimension. And I have seen beautiful looking works by printing machine. It's unbelievable. To be used as a model for the casting business, not in wrought iron. But yes, we are using modern technology, yeah.
Are you finding young people here in the United States who are willing to do the apprenticeship study and dedication that's necessary to carry on the tradition?
Sadly, not enough, if any. Okay? It's not that we have not been involved in this duty. It's a duty. We have not been able to have young apprentices that would stay long enough for a full apprenticeship. Even though we propose to this apprentice, American apprentice, to have also a period in France, in the French workshop, so that the, to use the word of our new president, the old world will provide information to the young man or woman. But no, we have been very unsuccessful, to be honest. It's not that we will not consider, we are still considering, I mean, proposition or applications, but...
About in France, are you finding people there who are able to do this work and understand the meaning of apprenticeship?
Yes, let's be honest also. The old world is changing a lot. And there is not enough apprentices in France for the trades. The fraternity I belong to is extremely active in enrolling young French men and women. Believe it or not, the companions of duty that has always been a male kind of fraternity has opened its door years ago to young women. And there is some trade like a leather trade that is almost now totally with women. I'm expressing myself badly, but you got my point. But not enough. And it's also a source of problems. But this is a wider... we should see that in the perspective of a society and how it becomes and what has been destroyed. I'm thinking about the wars in France. Modernity went way too fast. The old trades that could have survived were killed too fast. Horses has been relegated too fast to the side, and motorization came extremely fast. I mean, change in society. God was dead, as you know, in the trenches of the First World War. It has been too horrible. So social change, spiritual change, and the trades. After the Second World War in France, I'm talking, you know, it's my personal point of view, have suffered the extreme complexity of the labor's laws, that in fact it was becoming less and less attractive for artisans to hire young people because the paperwork to be associated with was so enormous and brain-taking and so on and so on, and the lawsuits and so on. So, and little by little, 60, 70 years later, we are where we are, you know. Well, but we resist, and as I say to artisans in France, I call you not artisan, but résistant. You are resisting, so that's what yeah.
Does your company hold the archives yourselves, or is that in a special museum from years back? And
No.
also-
It's not in a museum, and I am the guardian of the temple, of the archives. By nature, because I was raised in a family where you keep everything, you know what I mean, right? But besides that, I always felt important, because you put so much of yourself in a project. You don't throw drawings, and you throw away some bad drawings, whatever. But you keep those who have been important for the project, and the samples. You know, drawings in our trade is made in the shop. You know what I mean? And they are samples. This is what I call my drawings. And I kept that as a maniac, you know, it was like a disease. And we kept, and listen, since 1986, some stuff have been thrown, but we have kept the core of it, yes. Drawings, we have thousands of drawings. We have, even in a computer system, about 70,000 photographs, all labeled, so that we can refer from a project to another one and give and get ideas and time we spent on it. That's very important. But not in a museum, and it will be staying in the company in the next 50 years, madam.
Okay. Also, could you please explain the maker's marks or the different trades marks on the metal works that you were
Yes.
seeing?
It was before mandatory, before, I would say, until maybe before or just after the First World War. Every shop had to put a stamp mark because it was a matter of pride, a matter of recognition, and to make sure that those works that are not stamped are not from the shop. And if you are aware of objects of interiors like chandelier and so on from Edgar Brandt, from Paul Keys, they all bear the stamp. And I insisted of doing it at the early stages of LMC in 1986, because we cannot work anonymously. I mean, it's impossible. It's not that we want to be put in the front stage. But listen, I was called to go to a client's residence. I'm still talking about the stamp. I'm like that. I'm jumping. But, and I went there, and the client said, you did that work? I said, yes, we did that work in 1994. I said, you remember that? I said, yes. The stamp is at the bottom of your post, and there is LMC stamp and the date. I wanted the date there. Yes, the stamp are always important, and in the old days of, at least in 18th, 19th century, it was usually the full name stamped, sometimes the dates. We have a date at the shop of an anvil of 1785 or something like that. Yes, but stamps are very important. No, we change the stamps only, we have started this year, in 2017, a tradition of having souvenirs made for clients or prospect clients with a stamp and the date, LMC with a date on it, and next year will be another stamp, yes. But this is for the souvenirs, but for stamping the work, it is the logo of LMC and the date. Madame? I think you, someone.
When we met in your plant, in your factory, you were wearing the same jacket. Can you show us the jacket? Why do you wear it? Is there some history, something special?
Bon, yeah. You know, it comes from my father's habitude. I mean, he was used to it. I never knew my father without a tie. Alors, it was dirty shirt, dirty tie, but with a tie. And to wear a jacket, he was telling me when I was running into the shop, you know, young guys, I mean, in revolt, and what, you know what I mean. And we cannot work like a stroller in the streets, you know. You must wear your ways of protecting yourself, whatever, and you need a jacket. So, and I think, you know, I did this presentation in a jacket because it's related to the work. When I go to the shop, even if I am alone, like this Sunday, I was in the morning to prepare this, and I put the jacket on. You know, I think it's a maniac habit. But I like it, and it protects the, your trousers and whatever, and okay, that...
Your tools look very useful. It was unclear where I'd be able to get some tools like that. Can I buy them somewhere?
The tools that are exhibited in the window are fairly new. They have been fabricated in 1978, something like that, 79, and you have to make them. And on the tool, in the windows outside, you will see on one of them there is my stamp mark. But you make them. Now, for the tools that you show, that you saw on the PowerPoint, those have been made by the artisans in the old days, because there was no tool maker back then. You know, you have to do your own tools, your compass, your whatever you need, your rule, and you didn't ask the question, but I will answer it. But sometimes there is several dates on the same tool, and it took me some time to get it, because, you know, like when you go to your first thought, you think the first date, 1816, and the second date, 1841. You said, you know, he died by 1840. No. It was because that tool became the property of the son or the grandson, and he put the date, he started using it. That's why there is, and I have a roll, a flat bar, you know, a roll, that has about 8 dates on it, stamped, different. So that it's like a cat, you know, who has his territory, and we put the date. I mean, it's mine. But you cannot, yeah, no, they are not for sale, of course not. Question, madam.
You have built a phenomenal business, and I speculate that part of the art and the technique involved in doing that has to do with managing your relationships with clients, private and for public commissions. What advice will you give your grandson about how to manage those client relationships and the difficulties they can pose?
Madame, your questions calls for a lengthy response or a poetic one, or something like that. I will tell you something. I will make sure that these young fellows, women or men, I had 4 girls. They have done many visits at the shop, and they did for their mom some souvenirs for, so on. But they have not been, they had no desire really to. But for a young man like my grandson, or whoever, by the way, whoever, I would say it all is in the hands of your parents. A great education, play music, go to concert, go to drawings, look at beautiful things. Let's be very personal. I mean, people will not like what I will say. Don't look at TV, for example. Don't spend your time. Spend your time by reading good books. This is not their choice. It is the choice of their elder to give them good books. Meaning what? It will build taste, good taste. And our clients feel it. They know. Just before the lecture, we met with a client who became our friend of the General Society. And we have built this relationship because he trusted me. He felt that we could talk. I will make the good decision. He was convinced of it just by the fact that we spoke and we met and blah, blah, blah. And he was right. When I get like François, like Quentin, Enzo, and Nicolas, involved in a project. The client knows that we will not sleep on his behalf, okay? And he knows it. So what advice? A proper education. And we must be lucky because proper education could be spoiled by bad frequentation, by bad encounters. And what I will also advise, if I am his guardian angel, is to have the decisive encounters. Rhett Butler knows what I mean, and Jean-Paul Violet as well. In our life, we have not many times, but 1 or 2 decisive meetings with someone that makes you follow the right path. So, okay, I don't know if I answered your question, but Maria, I think you must have the microphone.
All right. While it's here. As a citizen of New York and quite involved often in public things, I know that people want to know what's at the top of the City Hall and what's at the top of the Justice and why and how it got there. And is the story, do the people in the building know the story? And is there somewhere that you have already or we could ask to be put the story of not only the symbol, but how you, in a sense, how it got made?
I think it has to be somewhere because we did a report at the end of these 2 projects. The Statue of Justice on top of City Hall, we did a full report with photographs. And I think even in this report there is a weight dimension and the weight of it and so on. They have been given to the, I don't know the name of the commission, the Historic Commission. I do not know the name of this commission, but we gave a report. We kept a double of this report at the shop, so if you wish to look at it. Now, for civic fame. I'm sorry? Oh, when it was under Mr. Giuliani mayorship. The City of Justice, the Statue of Justice, 2000, around. And the other statue was before that, the Statue of Civic Fame. I have a good story about that one. I was next to Mr. Giuliani looking at the going down of the statue, and it took time. So his assistant said, Mr. Giuliani would like you to talk to him. Why is it so long to bring the Statue of Justice down? I went there and he said, spoke and said, and to distract him, I said, fine, I mean, it will take time, but it will be soon done. By the way, I said, do you have a look at the Statue of Civic Fame, the gilded woman there on top of the Manhattan Municipal Building? He said to me, I can see it from my office. I said, fine. If you have a pair of binoculars, look at her closely. The model was Audrey Manson, a splendid young woman, and the statue itself is like a naked woman flowing in the wind. Mr. Giuliani smiled, he said, I will look closely at her. So, and just after that exchange, fairly frivolous, we brought down the Statue of Justice. So the Statue of Justice, we have a movie has been done and commissioned by the city of New York. I do not know what they have done with this beautiful movie that says everything about that restoration.
Jean, it is not a question, it is a statement.
Yeah.
I became acquainted with Samuel Yearling through my husband.
Yes.
But looking at your work, I think that you are superior,
No.
if I may say that, to Samuel Yellen.
C'est gentil, mais... Oui. Thank you, Maria. But I remember something very different. Yellen has 300 employees at the highest of the Yellen in Arch Street in Philadelphia. And they were at the epitome of the demand in splendid ironworks, and they produced, it was the largest forge of modern history, world largest forge. We are not yelling. Listen, we are resisting the flow of the times that is not in favor of the hand trades. This is what yes, we have been resisting, I would say, brilliantly. We stand on the barricades, as the French will say. But Yellen has an extraordinary legacy, yes. What else? Oh, we have a drink now? No, wait.
One more question, Jean?
Yes, please. Oui.
And Jean, when you said that being an artisan is a mindset, and knowing Jean for, 7 years now, I see that how all of his involvement, everything's with such discipline, even an agenda for a good and welfare committee meeting to talk about lectures, how every detail, meticulous, but can you just explain about the mindset of an artisan? And I know Jean, as part of your discipline is to wake up and play the violin. Is that every day?
Almost. No.
Yes.
I'm not a good violin player. Listen, to respond briefly to your question, Victoria, the mindset that I got from my father is that your trade is for your lifetime. It's not, I have heard at school by smart people that you have to be prepared to change your career 6-7 times during your time. Not for a tradesman. It's a matter of loyalty to your trade because it's so vast. It cannot be improvised. I made a clear difference between creativity linked to tradition and inventiveness linked to amateurism sometimes. So, but to avoid that, to be diverted the wrong way, it takes years and years of work. It takes a lifetime. So the mindset is you are a metalsmith from day one to the last one. My father retired at 77. He passed away at 87. But until 86 and plus, he was going to the shop every day, of course. Thank you very much.
Wait, we have a presentation.
Yes. Just before you leave, we would just like to, on behalf of you, behalf of the General Society, thank Jean for his outstanding presentation and for truly illustrating the life of the artisan. And it was just like, it was such a pleasure to see so much of your exquisite work. And exquisite is truly the word to describe it. It was really fantastic. Jean, thank you so much on behalf of the General Society. Thank you very, very much. And we would just like to make a presentation to Jean, as we do for our lectures. And to do this is Victoria Dengel, our Executive Director again.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, Jean, I just want to add to that. Well, thank you for so much. Thank you as a General Society member and a friend. I mean, I really can't say enough good about all of the great things that have come from Jean Wiart coming to the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen, and the world of artisans that are his friends and that we have been able to meet. And I see Rhett Butler here tonight. I see the Violettes, Sandrine and Jean-Paul, master cabinet maker, and Sandrine's straw marquetry. I never knew about straw marquetry and all the trades of upholstery, and Vanessa Hoheb. The names are countless, and wow, what a gift it has been to the society founded by 22 artisans. And so I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
but wait. So I just have to. Now I'm not overriding. You're ending your own lecture, but the General Society of Mechanics and Tradesmen, founded 1785, expresses its gratitude to Jean Wiart, Les Metalliers Champenois, for master artisan of fine ornamental metalwork, the life of an artisan, tradition, transmission, and trade, for his participation in the General Society Artisan Lecture Series. So thank you, Jean. Thank you.
Victor. I would like to tell you something. Nothing would have been feasible without my stable family life. Nothing would have been accomplished without a team. And I am so pleased to have tonight a team here aligned. Can you please stand? Because really, this is a new generation of artisans. Thank you.